I generally think people mostly are overpaying for ads. Like I think people get addicted to the drug of ads. But I think that at the core of ABM is something solid, which is you're choosing a set of companies that you think you can sell to based on criteria, and then you're targeting those companies. I think that's smart. But the problem is people are only targeting those companies based on technographic and firmographic information. I think if you're an early stage company, it's very unlikely you have any inbound. We probably waited 6 months to 9 months before any real inbound started coming in. But as word of mouth spreads, maybe if you have a product-led growth product, you'll have early inbound. But yeah, if you have inbound as a pre-product market fit, founder-only startup, good for you. It's just like not normal. Just generally, our main recommendation is to take an omni-channel approach. So using 5 or 6 different channels to try to find prospects, because you never know which prospect will be most likely to respond under which channel. 85% marketing inbound, 15% outbound sales. They need to either be 50% marketing inbound, 50% outbound sales, or they need to be 15% inbound and 85% outbound. And then depending on which motion you think you can hit, that really affects your ACVs. Warm leads have a 3 times higher response rate than cold reach out. And so if you're cold reaching out to 10,000 people, maybe you get a 0.1% response rate, typical these days. And let's say you reach out warm to 1,000 people, not 10,000 people, you get a 3x return on the responses. I think the truth is that inbound and outbound are kind of merging. So we kind of coined a new term we call warm bound, which is the idea that intent from inbound feeds outbound, and then intent from outbound feeds inbound. And you kind of can like go in this nice circle because you never know where you're going to book the person, right?
So I was going through your profile and I read this thing that we're leading the way of RevTech 2.0 by turning RevOps people into legends. So just tell us, so let's just start off with what's Rev 2.0?
RevTech 2.0 is the kind of introduction of AI into how we do sourcing and finding of new customers.
Okay, and so how does it sort of like differentiate from the original, and what results have you seen with this by introducing AI into this RevTech?
Yeah, I guess from the earliest days of getting customers, we used to be physically door to door, where we'd go knocking on doors, asking people to be our customers. And then with the introduction of software, we were able to start to scale how we approach going after customers. And so we'd be able to use things like a CRM, we'd be able to get contacts into a list, we were able to use calling, et cetera, et cetera. And it really empowered a person to use software to become more efficient. And so you've seen sort of like automation tools like SalesLoft and Outreach, where you can send lots of emails. You've seen power dialers like Orem, where you can make lots of calls. And so basically a human was able to be really empowered with software. And so that was sort of, let's say, RevTech 1.0. And then 2.0 is the actual removing of people from the situation, where yes, there are places and times where human sellers are better at generating new sales meetings than software and AI due to personalization and warmth and warm intros, and there are aspects of what Warmly does that allows for that. But the real 2.0 piece is that you can now leverage AI and automation to take the signals of who's interested and in market for your product now, and then automate them in your reach out across all the channels that humans used to do the reach outs, but now we can do them automatically.
So which parts of outbound are obsolete given this AI trend that's coming in?
I wouldn't say anything's obsolete. I would say we're at a place now where everybody knows how to mass reach out cold, and thus reply rates are declining, but very few people know how to reach out warm when there's a warm signal to be able to engage that prospect. And so I don't think anything's obsolete. I just think we're doing, basically it was like, first we had personalization, but the problem with personalization was you couldn't have high quantity, right? That was the door-to-door knocking. Then there was automation through things like Outreach, SalesLoft, Orem. And so now you had basically at scale reach outs, but it wasn't personalized, right? You just mass messaged the same template to the same people cold. And so finally the combination of the two with the advent of AI is personalization at scale. And so now we have same channels we always have. So again, nothing's obsolete, but much more personalized messages targeted to the right buyers who are in market at this time.
Okay, awesome. And which part, so you believe that all the parts will remain the same, it's just that the effectiveness will increase a lot?
And I think we'll also see maybe a decrease in human SDRs and BDRs and a increase in the use of AI and software. which will be much more cost effective for B2B organizations.
So what results have you seen? I mean, using your products, have you seen that the SDR numbers have gone down, efficiency has gone up, pipelines is better? Can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think across our customer base, especially as fundraising dried up about a year ago, and all of a sudden interest rates went up and things weren't as cheap as they used to be. All of a sudden, people started saying, "Okay, well now we got to be careful of our costs." And so, how were people careful of their costs? They looked at their sales and marketing budgets and saw what fat they could trim, and they realized that they way overhired salespeople because they saw in the past that, well, every time I toss in a human SDR, I'm generating 3x in revenue, so whatever. And then all of a sudden, if a bunch of people are missing quota because pipeline's down and people aren't replying to the mass cold outreach anymore, then you see the SDRs being less profitable. So like a US SDR, fully ramped and scaled with tools, et cetera, let's call it 100K a year all in. And so there's just a lot of cash to justify having a full-time person. And so while there will be some SDRs, because you need a few, there won't be as many as in the past. And so we've seen our customers shed a lot of their human SDR team and lean more heavily into AI and automation to automate those roles.
Okay, and you've given this context that you sort of like said, okay, all this venture funding has dried up. You've just posted that you have the biggest sales month ever. What's working for you?
Yeah, well, the nice thing, I guess, about Warmly's product is that we are a revenue orchestration tool. So about 45% of our closed won sales come from using our own product. And we still use all the traditional channels, but leveraging our own tool. So we have, we call it warm calling, not cold calling, warm outbound, not cold outbound. But basically, yeah, we're doing really well because our product works. And a lot of people are in market to buy because of the industry trend of fewer human SDRs, more leaning into automation and really warm signal orchestration is kind of the topic that everybody's talking about. And so, yeah, we're growing, which is really nice. And I think that our growth and what is working for us can be replicated by other orgs, probably through buying our tool, but maybe also because just generally our main recommendation is to take an omni-channel approach. So using 5 or 6 different channels to try to find prospects, because you never know which prospect will be most likely to respond or which channel.
Okay, so let's just talk about your growth then. Okay, so you've grown a lot, and you've talked a lot about your GTM motions online also. So from 0 to 10 customers, what was your GTM motion like? What worked? What didn't work? What kind of pivots you had to do? Let's just talk about those.
Yeah, and maybe you can post the link to the Growth Unhinged post that covers kind of the more in-depth details here. But one of the things that Warmly did in 2023 was we went from a founder-led sales motion to a sales-led motion. And a lot of early-stage B2B companies struggle to make that jump. And so what we can talk about now is sort of how did we go from me as the founder selling to running and scaling a full repeatable sales motion. And so when we were first getting our first 10 customers, we really just saw them as design partners. So we had no sales team. It was just myself and my co-founder. And we basically said, hey, you do have to pay for this thing, because I'm a big believer in that you're in the wrong space if no one will pay for what you're offering. But we're going to make it a 3-month trial and it's going to be really cheap. But I do need a credit card down. That was important. And so we were just trying to see, would anybody buy this thing at any price? And we were just trying to understand like funnel metrics, like how many people do we have to talk to get how many sales, but maybe even more than that is just message testing. So if I say this sentence, are you more interested in that sentence? And also learning a lot of objections. So, when you're founders, you can handle all the objections, right? When somebody says, like for us, well, can you, how many warm leads am I going to get from using your tool? If you're a new salesperson and you have no idea, it's hard to answer that, right? You don't know how to answer that question. So, but we as a founders are like, well, I don't know, maybe 1,000. And so we're not sure, but we're like testing things out. So we would sort of pull out all the various objections. And then once we had all those objections, we could kind of go into the second phase, which is more the customer side, range from, it was maybe like 1 to 10 customers. Then we go into the phase of like 10 to 25 customers.
Let's just talk about 10 to 25 customers then.
Yeah. So once you as founders are successfully through the design partner phase, we recommend going into the potentially bringing on a salesperson for a Phase 2 before we bring in a salesperson is, can you hit quota yourself? So then you basically start to say, okay, we're early in understanding our funnel metrics, our motions here. We have the design partners. Let's sell for real. and you figure out, okay, if I want to hire a salesperson in the future, I need them landing, I don't know, minimum, whatever, 40K a month in sales. And so you tell yourself, in 3 months, can I prove to myself, or in however long it takes, that I can hit those numbers? And so, I worked as hard as I could. And then eventually by the end of the second quarter for us, and again, we do this pretty quickly, but we were able to prove that I could get to quota. And I was still selling like 5K deals at the time. So I was selling like 8 5K deals in a month, which was solid. But now Warmly sells mostly for like 15K deals. But, and so it was pretty cool to see that we were able to experiment with funnel velocity, funnel metrics, can you hit quota, and can you build early sales collateral, and maybe start to make a couple of docs of like, okay, here are the common questions, here's a mini sales deck, here's how you do a demo, and basically plan for the future. And so once we were past the design partner program and we scaled from 10 to 25 customers, we were pretty much right on track to where I wanted to be, which is okay. We passed the second, gate here, which is we're now ready to bring on a sales leader. And so then the next phase, of course, is 25 to 50 customers.
Okay, so and where does the inbound part comes in? So this seems like an all-out outbound motion that you have been sort of like prescribing. Does inbound play a role over there or not?
Probably not. I think if you're an early stage company, it's very unlikely you have any inbound. We probably waited 6 months to 9 months before any real inbound started coming in. But as word of mouth spreads, maybe if you have a product-led growth product, you'll have early inbound. But yeah, if you have inbound as a pre-product market fit, founder-only startup, good for you. It's just like not normal.
Okay. So in terms of inbound, have you seen any traction, or is it still outbound motion for you guys?
So Warmly is 50-50 now. So I really see probably three types of business models in B2B. I don't know how you see it, but basically I think organizations either have to be 85% marketing inbound, 15% outbound sales. They need to either be 50% marketing inbound, 50% outbound sales, or they need to be 15% inbound and 85% outbound. And then depending on which motion you think you can hit, that really affects your ACV. So if you're a mostly inbound motion, you can get away with like 3 to 5K deal sizes, ideally more like 10. If you're a 50-50 marketing sales motion, just to make the math work, you have to be more like 15, 20K ACVs. And then if you're mostly an outbound organization, selling to enterprise, whatever, you need 30K plus ACVs to justify all those costs. So that's kind of like roughly what I coach folks on with their go-to-market motion. And not to say you have to hit it right away. Like your first year, you're figuring stuff out. But to really have a repeatable motion, you want to drive yourself to either 85-15, 50-50, or 15-85. And Warmly today, and I think pretty squarely, given that we're trying to hit like 15 to 20K ACVs, is a 50% inbound, 50% outbound organization. And if you look at the math, I would say right now, probably 50, 67% of our sales come from inbound and 42% come from outbound. We're getting really good word of mouth. We do a lot of, channel marketing on LinkedIn and partners and podcasts like this, stuff like that. So that's where we're driving a little more inbound than we expect long term. But we'll take that. We'll ride that wave if we can.
Okay. And in terms of these divisions that you have mentioned, does it change with mid-market, enterprise, or early stage companies if you're targeting, or is it like for across all?
Yeah, I think so. The thing with selling to SMBs is they're never going to pay more than 10K. So you better be mostly marketing some sales. If you're going after mid-market companies, then you can be, probably anywhere on the spectrum, but a 30K tool for a mid-market company is tough. And if you're selling to enterprise, you have to be mostly outbound sales. I don't know really of almost any organization, maybe save like Datadog, which is like an incredible business, or maybe like Snowflake, which is also an incredible business, though honestly, most of their sales come from outbound enterprise sales. But if you're enterprise, you're going to be mostly a enterprise outbound led motion.
Okay, that's awesome. So you have shared opinions about ABM. So is ABM working, not working? What are your thoughts?
I think ABM is a solid strategy. I generally think people mostly are overpaying for ads. Like I think people get addicted to the drug of ads. But I think that at the core of ABM is something solid, which is you're choosing a set of companies that you think you can sell to based on criteria, and then you're targeting those companies. I think that's smart. But the problem is people are only targeting those companies based on technographic and firmographic information. So that basically means, hey, we're going to go after this company size and this vertical and this country. And that's a solid first pass, and it worked. before everybody at Outreach and Sales Loft. And now that everybody is sending the max amount of emails they can per day to all of those same companies, they're not replying anymore. And so I think that basically people have misinterpreted or misread their TAM, the companies they need to go after, and they need to filter that TAM further for people who are in their TAM, but also in market. And so when I sort of think about this idea of filtering for your historical intent, your technographic, firmographic information, that's ABM, let's call it like 1.0. And then RevTech 2.0 or ABM 2.0 is this idea of, great, like have that list, but then only reach out to those people when the timing is right. And to know when the timing is right, you need signals. And so signals can be something like what Warmly does, where we tell you who's visiting your website but hasn't converted yet, or who's using your free product and is growing in usage, or has changed jobs to a new company but hasn't bought your old product again, or is posting jobs on the website, or you have a warm intro to them. So there's a whole bunch of like signals that you can pull, but it really depends on who's in market at the time and the people behind the account. So I think that's like what people who want to run ABM strategies need to move toward, is a signal-based selling approach.
In terms of this intent-based, so there are quite a few tools that exist. So how do you sort of differentiate from all of those?
So intent can be broken down into two different buckets. Well, three, depending on how you look at it. Intent can be all signals, but really I think intent mostly to folks is first-party intent, which is people on your website and your product. And then third-party intent, which is people searching for topics or competitors related to what you do that haven't heard of you yet. And so when we break those down, there's a couple different players in the space. Bombora, Sixth Sense, Terminus are kind of the leading players in the third-party intent space. And then Clearbit, Sixth Sense are pretty much the main big players in the first-party website intent signal, though I think People Data Lab is also coming out with something similar. And so what we've done is we've decided to have all of them. And basically what we do is we partner with all those companies, and then we create what's called a data waterfall, which is that we don't just trust one company to have the best signal. We actually combine multiple of them to make sure that we have higher verification. And so our customers can choose their essentially quality strength. Basically, like it's a little more expensive for us to call all the different providers, but I can give you higher quality if it's really important to you. Or if you're like, you know what, I don't need perfectly high quality, I just want as many potential matches as possible, then we're happy to say, okay, well, you can basically just get each of them separately, and we'll give you the maximum amount of warm leads we can find for you from the intent space. So I'd say the way we differentiate is that we don't, and we do some of it, we build some of it ourselves, but basically we combine everyone in order and give it to folks at the cheapest price in order to maximize the chance that our customers book meetings.
Okay, and what was the process like of building this product? I mean, how did you come with the idea? What was this journey like?
Yeah, well, I have a post on my LinkedIn that talks about the like 7 different pivots that Warmly made before we landed on where we are. But I'm a first-time founder. I met my co-founders at Google, and we originally started Tinder for co-founders. It was the dumbest idea ever. The problem we were trying to solve was we couldn't find co-founders. We obviously found each other. And so we had a little swipey app where you could be like, oh yeah, I want to work with this person. I want to work with this person. Terrible, terrible idea. And then we pivoted 7 times since, but loosely we've always been in the space of connecting people in a warm way, and loosely always been in sales tech, because who's going to basically pay money for connecting with people? Salespeople. And so we basically pivoted multiple times, and some of the iterations were digital business cards, job change tracking, virtual professionalism for salespeople, and then a couple iterations later, we had sort of been in sales tech for 3 years, and we looked at everything going on in the space, and we kind of saw this wave coming of like, wait a minute, cold emails aren't working anymore, cold calls aren't working anymore, cold LinkedIn messages aren't working anymore. And we saw it with our previous pivot. We were trying cold outreach and it wasn't working. And so then we said, okay, well, how can we do a better way? And then AI came along, and we're like, okay, let's be a AI first sales platform that can orchestrate your RevTech 2.0 motion, that can orchestrate your warm signals against all the channels that you want to go outbound. So that was sort of our journey, and we just felt like we struck gold a little bit. We didn't mean to. We just wanted to build a big business, and basically we've been, for the last 12 months straight, we've grown at an average of 20% month over month. So feeling very good about growth. I mean, we crossed $1 million in ARR a few months ago, and so it's exciting.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. And you pretty much say that product market fit is an art, not a science. What does that mean?
Yeah, I talk to a lot of early stage founders who are like, I'm a super smart person. I don't understand why I can't reason my way to product market fit. And I think that it's rooted in the fact that a lot of first time founders, especially, they think about their days in school, right? And in school, it's like you take the test and you get a grade, and there's a right answer and a wrong answer, and you get 100 out of 100, and you get an A plus, and you feel good, and that's great. But product market fit is much more nebulous. It's more of an artistic journey to create and manufacture something that's amazing. And so, yeah, there's no obvious formula. But I did put up a post recently that talks a little bit about my opinions on if you had to apply science to product market fit, how would you do it? And I think the like easiest two heuristics for the science of product market fit are step one, when it comes to the product, the sort of sciencing the product is basically like, will people pay for this thing? The like classic, would they be disappointed if it went away? So those are the kind of like, if you can hit, yes, someone will pay for it, great. And like, yeah, people will be sad if it went away. That's a little bit of the science behind the product piece. And then from the market side, basically, can you build a repeatable sales motion? Which is basically like, is your TAM large enough? And can you get a salesperson to quota month over month and be able to predict revenue growth? Is kind of like the market science part of it. And that's just rough, right? There's really just like also the gut feeling of like, is this working? Do we want to be in the space for 10 years? That you have to kind of analyze as well.
Okay, awesome. So in terms of product building, you've mentioned that you've chosen autonomous revenue orchestration instead of AI revenue orchestration. Can you please obviously maybe explain the terms and what's the difference and why one over the other?
Yeah, so we set out to build a category. We want to be a category defining company. And the category that we are building is one that we created ourselves. We're the number one in the space, but we're also the main one in the space because we created it. Hint, founders should do more of that. And we chose autonomous revenue orchestration because basically it encompassed the three pieces of what we care about and do, which is the automation, no more SDRs, the revenue, which is we work with sales and marketing teams, we make you money, and then orchestration, which is essentially letting RevOps people become superstars, superheroes by orchestrating and taking signals and sending out messages across channels. So those are the three pieces. When we first got started, we also looked at AI revenue orchestration versus autonomous revenue orchestration. And we basically found that people were really freaking tired of AI as a phrase. AI this, AI that, AI everything. And honestly, like a sales leader doesn't give a shit if it's AI. They don't give a shit if it's a human. They just want more pipeline. And so our goal is to provide the most amount of pipeline possible for a revenue leader. And we think that talking about the reality, which is you can automate all this stuff, autonomous, is even more important than you can AI all of this. And yes, we have AI in our product at every step of the way. We generate messages, we generate leads, we look at your pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. But really, I think we feel like it's more succinctly stated by doing autonomous revenue orchestration.
Okay, so in terms of so obviously you get the signals, right? Okay, that particular company or that particular persona is in the market for this particular thing, but still the messaging has to go out, and that is the major reach or the touch point that you're going to have, and that can have like many ways of doing it, and obviously there's a lot of spam that comes in to everybody inbox. So how do you differentiate what works, what doesn't work?
In terms of creating relevant messaging or personalization?
Yeah. So personalization, yeah. So is it something which your tool is doing at scale? How does it work?
Yeah, it's all about signals. So the way that our tool works is we tell you the warmest leads based on signals. So we tell you people who are visiting your website but haven't converted yet, people who are researching you around the web but haven't visited your site yet, who are changing jobs into new companies that you want to resell to, who are posting job postings, who look like your similar accounts that you want to land. All these are little signals, right? They're sort of indications that somebody's in market this month to buy a thing that you sell, and you're most likely able to get a response this month. And in fact, not just this month, today. And in fact, not just today, this minute. And so what's interesting about what we do is that instead of relying on a 22-year-old human SDR fresh out of college who's never been in SaaS before, who is very earnest and hardworking, but may go on vacation one day, or maybe at lunch for an hour, or maybe doesn't understand the nuances of how to reach out to somebody warm, depending on whether they're on your pricing page or your blog page when they visited your site. Basically, we say, don't worry about those pieces. Let's send it out the literal second that the signal is exhibited. And so once you get that signal, and then you know the signal, you can customize the message to reach out to the person. And so we see warm leads have a 3 times higher response rate than cold reach out. And so if you're cold reaching out to 10,000 people, maybe you get a 0.1% response rate, typical these days. And let's say you reach out warm to 1,000 people, not 10,000 people, you get a 3x return on the responses. Now, yes, the more you spam, someone's going to reply. But like you said, it's basically going away. People are getting so much spam, they don't respond. And so, providers like Outreach, SalesLoft, Apollo, LinkedIn are cracking down on the number of messages you're able to send per day. And so as the crackdown continues, it is up to all B2B organizations to figure out and prioritize who are they going to be reaching out to, because now they're capped on the total amount that they can feasibly do. And honestly, like when I look at a lot of revenue organizations, SDRs, just by nature of being human and having to do touch points, they're sort of expected to do like 3,000 touch points a month. But an autonomous bot can do 10,000, 20,000 touch points a month. So what's cool is like with Warmly, you can max out your quantity of touch points, but also ensure that all of those touch points have some warmth to them.
Oh, okay. So in terms of case studies, in terms of this deploying it across different companies and use cases, you've seen this kind of 3 times increase in the response rate, right?
For the people you reach out to, yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe let's just talk about some of your favorite inbound tactics that are working for you guys or that you're seeing in the industry.
Totally. Yeah, inbound's a whole separate beast. And actually, I think that the truth is that inbound and outbound are kind of merging. So we kind of coined a new term we call warm bound, which is the idea that intent from inbound feeds outbound, and then intent from outbound feeds inbound. And you kind of can like go in this nice circle because you never know where you're going to book the person, right? And I think that's like this traditional notion of like marketing gets credit on inbound and sales gets credit on outbound doesn't make any sense. We're one big revenue team. We're all working together to book meetings at any time around the clock. And so Warmly provides outbound strategies that we were talking about before, auto email, auto LinkedIn, but we also provide inbound techniques, and I'll happily share some of the overall inbound tactics that I think work really well. So first thing is trying a free motion. So people talk about how PLG is dead, how it's not working. I'm a big fan of not PLG, but light freemium. And light freemium basically means you give people a taste of your product. It could even be a demo tour, like we use a software called Turial, which gives you like a little taste of sort of a product that you want to sell. Or you could actually have them create an account, play around just a little bit, and then paywall. And basically what that does is it provides a much higher inbound rate. So a lot of people don't want to sign up for a 30-minute demo, but they will spend 5 minutes right now testing out the product. So, freemium taste, which not Warmly does, but just in general works for us, I think is pretty solid. Second thing that I think people do on inbound and have to tweak all the time is how many form fields on their inbound form. So we deal with this all the time. It's a big problem where it's like the fewer form fields we have, the more inbound we get, but a lot of that inbound's unqualified, and the less form fields we have, the less inbound we get, but the more qualified inbound we get. So we have to kind of like play with that. So I think like basically A/B testing continuously with the quality of inbound and holding yourself accountable on inbound to qualified leads, right? So you don't care about form fills from unqualified leads. Don't let that skew your numbers. We use a tool called Default, DEFAULT, default.com, and they're pretty fantastic in terms of creating cool workflows, routing logic, round robin rules, and helping you understand the quality of your inbound. They're basically like a next generation Chili Piper and much cheaper. So highly recommend Default for your form field for your inbound. Any questions on those two before I go to the next one?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm interested a lot more in the full pipeline also. So maybe you can just go there, top, middle, bottom also. Yeah.
Sure. So then when you think about inbound, right, like you're spending a lot of money likely driving people to your website, right? The website is the final destination before inbound. And really it's your like digital storefront. It's your front yard. It's where you can brag about your product, et cetera. And where you know that if somebody's hanging out on your website, they're showing intent because they wouldn't be on your website if they for fun. And so you're probably spending a ton of money as content, conferences, brand building, SEO, content, videos, LinkedIn, social, driving people to your website. So you spend all this money, they get to your website, and then what's crazy to me is that people only have one inbound demo form. They don't have any sort of safety net or guideline to make sure bottom of funnel, you're maximizing all this time, effort, and money that you spent to get people to your website. And so 2 key things need to be present. One is you got to de-anonymize your website traffic. And there's a lot of tools that do this. Warmly is one of them. I like Warmly the best, of course. It's my own company, but also we bring together multiple data providers to give you the best-in-class de-anonymization providing by Bombora, 6sense, Clearbit, and multiple others. And once you de-anonymize your website traffic, then you can retarget those people if they come to your website but don't book yet, through us or through somebody else. So great to de-anonymize, capture them bottom of funnel, et cetera. The second thing that blows my mind that people don't do, and I'll tell you why, is having a chatbot. And so, people, for whatever reason, they either like to fill out a form and book a demo, or they're too lazy, or they just feel like talking to somebody and they want to hit a chatbot and talk to folks. And people would say, oh, we tried a chatbot, but the problem is everybody that writes in is just mostly people who want support. They're customers who just want problems, and I don't want to bother my sales team. And so we have done something that I think is relatively new. In fact, I think it's only done by Drift at their enterprise tier, which costs $100,000 or more, which is what's called an intent-based chatbot. So we take the intent from de-anonymizing your website, and we take the chatbot, we combine it with your CRM data and your ICP filters, and we basically only show the little bubble in the corner if it's a hot lead. And even more than that, if it's a very hot lead, if it's on your pricing page and it's in your CRM and it's an open opportunity, whatever filters you want, we can proactively use AI to message that person. So imagine you're a prospect, you're visiting the pricing page, you're not sure if you're ready for a demo yet, and the bot comes in with a message and it says, hey there, Saad, good to see you on the website. Or hey there, XGrid, what brings you to the website? Or hey, customers like X use us just like, that they're similar to you, same industry as you, use us, let's chat. And what's really amazing is that sort of prompts people to be like, whoa, like there's someone trying to talk to me, okay, let me engage. And what's even crazier is you don't just need a bot. So for the hottest of your hot leads with warm leads intent-based chatbot, we actually proactively alert sales reps in Slack the moment somebody comes to the website who's in your ICP but hasn't booked yet. And you can go from Slack and basically live video chat and chat with that prospect while they're still on your site. So imagine instead if it's like, Saad, you're on the pricing page and I'm like, pop into my video and I'm like, hey Saad, like real person, I'm an SDR here, want to chat? You want a demo like right now? And a lot of people who I was saying, the reason why a freemium motion works is like, they don't want to schedule a demo for 2 weeks from now. Their like interest will be gone. But if you can catch them in the moment when they're most interested to buy, when they're on the website, but questioning whether to fill out a demo request form, then you're very likely to get a book meeting.
Okay, that's awesome and very, very valuable. So, so obviously you use Warmly. So, what's your stack look? What does your stack looks like? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. So actually, on our partner discounts page on our website, we partner with 35 different tools, which are all in our stack, and we give you basically 20% off every single tool you could ever want to buy. And we do that to help our customers because we want to really be like revenue operations thought leaders, et cetera. And so we, if you are a customer of Warmly, you get 20% off these like 20 tools. I'll give you some of the list if I can think of them all. But our main stack is HubSpot, Apollo, so HubSpot for CRM, Apollo for contacts, Outreach for emails, Salesflow for LinkedIn automation, Warmly for revenue orchestration, Warmly for website de-anonymization, which combines Clearbit, 6sense, Onbora. We use Otis, OTIS for top of funnel ads. They're kind of like a next gen ads platform. We use what are they called? We use Default for inbound form fills, like I was mentioning. We use Webflow for our website. We use SendSpark for video messaging to prospects. We use LinkedIn Sales Nav. And I'm trying to think of what else. Positional for SEO and content, as well as Letter Drop. Letter Drop allows you to kind of create a content schedule for and maximize boost on your posts. And then Positional helps you rank for keywords that you're missing. So that's kind of our main tech stack.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So how big is the team? The actual humans.
Yeah, we have 3 SDRs, 1 inbound sales rep, 3 AEs, 1 sales leader, 1 sales admin, and then we have 2 on marketing.
Okay, and 2 on marketing are okay to generate this kind of content to feed into all of this inbound motion?
Yeah, we give them a tight budget and make them go to work. But myself, our sales leader, and our co-founder Alan are posting a lot of LinkedIn content, going to podcasts, etc. So we're sort of augmenting the marketing motion, I would say. But yeah, we try to do, we call them lightning strikes. But basically, the idea is like every 2 months, we try to have 1 major announcement and get a lot of people to post and reshare and have a lot of viral word of mouth that way. Yeah, we haven't really gotten into customer referral networks and things like that. I'd be interested in trying that out. We just haven't done that as an experiment yet.
Okay, that's awesome. So I have actually covered a lot of material. Anything that I've missed, if you want to talk about?
I guess in conclusion, I think that the main question that revenue operations people and marketing and sales leaders are going to ask themselves in the next couple of years is, how do I use my humans and how do I use my tools? And the combination of those two is tricky, and there's a different combination that needs to be done for every B2B motion. And sometimes you're going to rely more heavily on humans, sometimes you're going to rely more heavily on tools, and you might do a different mix in different sort of channels. And it's going to be similar to that finding product market fit piece, in art, not a science, but hopefully a lot of science around the metrics, to A/B test the right combination of tools and people. And I think that now that SDR motion can be pretty much automated, we need to bring the automation hats of marketers over to sales. And so, sales might be used to door-to-door knocking, cold calling, conferences, needs to get with the fact that you can automate a lot of the stuff and do a lot of metrics analysis. And so that's where I think RevOps really comes in handy, is bringing together sales and marketing to have the honest conversation of what are we doing with our people, what are we doing with our tools in order to generate as much pipeline as possible.
Okay, so let's just talk about omni-channel over here. So you talked about omni-channel strategies, and you need to reach them into 5 to 6 different channels. So let's first of all, which one are those your favorite ones, which you've seen that works the best? And secondly, there's always this concept of ones like, okay, one persona, one pain point, one channel, one strategy for 1 year. So do you agree to that, or is it? So what are your opinions on this?
You mean one persona, one message, one channel per channel? Like you have a different message and pain point? And...
Just one channel. Yeah, there's this concept of like doing just one across and just doing it for a year to get the traction. And then there is omni-channel approach.
I think that it used to be that 1 or 2 channels worked really well for you, so it's important to triple and double down on them. I think in 2024 you have to all be omni-channel, otherwise you just don't survive. I could be wrong. My main data point is my own business, which is a 50% sales, 50% marketing, 15K ACV type business. So there's probably some nuance to that, of course, but I think omni-channel has to be the way to go. Multiple messages, multiple personas, multiple titles. In all deals that we run, we do buyer committee. So we basically reach out to 5 to 7 people in the organization on a per deal basis. And you usually only had to do that at enterprise deals, 30K ACV plus back in the day. But now I think even for 15K deals, you need to be talking to 5, 6 people in the organization to get them excited. So yeah, I think omnichannel is the way to go. And then what was the other question?
Yeah, so in terms of channels, which one are your favorite? Which one sort of like you give more weightage or not?
Oh, I could look at our HubSpot, but I think the most important thing really is just to measure it. And so we have a graph that shows, we have 2 graphs. The first is core omnichannel, which is basically like big stuff like LinkedIn, social, inbound, cold calling, warmly, whatever. And then we have another graph below that that's like sub channels. So basically slice and dice. So within LinkedIn, you have founder DMs, you have personalized DMs, you have SDR DMs, you have founder posts, you have SDR posts. So there's like nuances within each channel. And I think just making sure that in HubSpot, whenever you book a meeting, you're creating attribution for which channel really did this come from, and having a bunch of slice and dice different nuances to really dive into how, what was the origin of this meeting, and then graph those things to see what's working for you. And then I still believe in some doubling down. So after a quarter, if you see that cold calling is your best channel, don't try to beef up your worst channel. Do more on your current channel until you cap out. But I just think as long as you have omni-channel, like if you only had calling, I would start to queue up other channels, because there will come a quarter when that channel stops working, and you can't just be, sitting duck when all of a sudden that channel's not working for you anymore.
Okay, and obviously you're the one who's actually building a new category, okay, and the top one at that. Okay, so obviously that is difficult in a different word, because the search might not exist for you guys. Okay, so how are you creating that demand for your product?
I mean, various marketing efforts. We do a lot of LinkedIn social, podcasts, SEO content. We experiment with some conferences. Again, it's all omni-channel. I think that there's demand creation and demand capture, where like you have to kind of think about, step 1, get people to know you exist, and then step 2, get people to know what you do. And so I think we've done a lot of work this past year around we exist, right? Warmly should just be a name that everyone's heard of. And when people think about us, they should be like, I think they do some sales stuff. Maybe they help me with my website leads. It's like, okay, like fine, we're in the conversation. And then step 2 is I think the harder one that we're entering into the next year, which is get them to understand what we do, which is we de-anonymize your website traffic and we automatically reach out to your prospects on LinkedIn, email, and chat. And so it's like that phase 2 of like, here's what we do is the important thing, so that when you're feeling that pain of, ugh, our sales reps are so slow, they can only reach out to 50 people a day on LinkedIn. And you know, Johnny went on vacation last week, so we saw a dip in numbers. That's when you're like, oh, like doesn't that Warmly tool like automate the LinkedIn channel? Let me go take a demo with them. So that's maybe the demand creation, demand capture piece.
Okay, that's awesome. So I am pretty much done with it. So okay, so again, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing all of this info. And I actually learned a lot. So I mean, it's been an amazing session.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome, man. Really nice.
Thanks a lot for them.
Bye.
Same here. Say bye.